A lesbian waitress in North Carolina was tipped with a violent Bible verse instead of cash recently. She was tipped with the verse from Leviticus 20:13, which reads, "If a man lies with a male as a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them." Wow. Love that one. And then underneath it, they said, "Praying for you." And to which the waitress, then posted this on Facebook and said, "I don't care what anyone says. This is the most disrespectful thing you can do. Don't pray for me, darling. I have everything I could possibly want and need in my life," with a bunch of little smoochy emojis after it. So this kind of raises a bunch of questions about whether or not it's ever okay not to tip and leave a note instead. And also, for me, as a gay Christian who went to school in North Carolina, hits a lot of buttons for me.
Wow.
Because
that's a weighted statement.
Yeah. And this, of course, comes after North Carolina passed some really anti-LGBT
HB2.
legislation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that we've talked about a little bit before. But this just shows that this prejudice, this discrimination is being perpetuated by the citizens that then feel it's being validated at the government level.
Exactly.
And that is really frustrating, and it's totally inappropriate. And here's another thing that I think it's important for our viewers to know, that Jesus talked about a lot of things. He talked about caring for poor people. He talked about loving, people that you might not necessarily associate with, like prostitutes, the tax people who he really didn't like in those days. He never actually mentioned gay people. So two things.
That's interesting.
Two things could happen here. Either he hated them so much he couldn't even mention them. He just got so mad when he thought about the queers. Or he didn't really think about it that much at all. He didn't care to mention it at all. But you know what he did mention? He did mention tipping, actually.
Really?
Yes. In Luke 10:7, yeah, he says the worker deserves his wages. So
amen.
What would Jesus have done? Probably would have tipped. That's my rant. I know.
And loved thy neighbor and did not judge.
Yeah, I know. I just hate how the Bible.
It's giving your faith. It is people like this who are using the Bible to validate their discriminatory prejudice beliefs are giving you, being a Christian, a bad name and faith a bad name, and that's not fair.
And here's what it proves. People ask me if it's hard to be a gay Christian, and it's not hard. Because what Jesus commands me as a person of faith, which is my choice, and you believe whatever you want to believe, what he commands me to do is just love people. And that's not hard. But what it does prove is that it is actually more difficult to love people than it is to discriminate against people. It's really easy to hate gay people. It's not really easy to get up off your ass and do something for the poor and the needy in your community. And that's all that this shows. It's really easy to write a cheap note at the bottom of your check. That doesn't prove anything. It's really hard.
I'll pray for you. How condescending. That's the biggest insult somebody could say. I hate that. And I think, too, what people need to be reminded of is somebody that is going to be racist or prejudiced, they are going to be that no matter what. And they're going to glob on anything they can to justify those beliefs. And it just so happens to be the Bible or their faith that they feel that can give them kind of like their crutch. Because it's a lot easier to put it on something rather than just to say, this is how I feel, right? Because then you have to take ownership of those really gross now unpopular beliefs. Thank God that we're coming to that place. Of course, we still have a lot of discrimination, and we're seeing that unfold, like you said so eloquently with HB2, and coming from a leadership level, which is so
it shows how it does trickle down. It does matter what laws are getting passed in different states, because it shows people that it's okay to discriminate, that it's okay to hate people just because of who they love, and that is really silly and stupid, and don't bring Jesus into it, because Jesus would have tipped.
And I'm so over people that don't tip.
Yeah.
I could understand, I guess, if like the waiter did something crazy, like spit in your food, but maybe why did they spit in your food? I mean, as a former waiter, you were a waiter, I was also a busser. The rudest thing that somebody could do to you is I mean, that's how you're making your wages, right? Because your wages kind of become like a wash, your minimum wage, at least mine would as a waitress, and I would live off my tips. And so if somebody, for some reason, felt like I wasn't doing a good job, when I thought I was doing a good job, just to not tip is one thing, but then to write a note is, I'm glad it went viral.
Yeah.
I'm so glad karma hit her in the behind.
And hopefully we'll see less and less of this as it, as people get more loving as we go on in life? I
Let's
don't know.
evolve. Let's
hope.
be
Let's
better.
evolve.
Let's lead with love.
But let us know what you guys think about this in the comments section below. Have you ever experienced something like this on a check if you're working in the service industry? And we will see you next time on Pop Chicken.